We've got relationship blogger and podcast host James Sama. Our game, We Want Sama That, and Mercury is in retrograde today on It's Complicated.
You're listening to It's Complicated with your hosts Jennifer Golden and Lauren Leonelli, coming to you live from the AfterBuzz TV studios in Los Angeles, California.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of It's Complicated.
The struggle is real when you're dating in the city.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Lauren. And today, our drink of the day is Rekorderlig Cider. You know, this is our favorite. Summer is coming to an end, so we're getting it in, although you can really just drink this whenever. We are mixing it with vodka because we've got the hard cider and the hard stuff. And it's actually pretty fitting because our guest, he's sweet like the cider, but he delivers the reality and the hard truth when it comes to dating and relationships. And so we're going to drink this in honor of that. Plus, he likes vodka too, because who doesn't? That's like a thing.
Yeah.
If you don't like dogs, it makes me like worried. If you don't like vodka, it makes me worried.
I agree completely. So, guys, like we said, we've got... Thank you.
Yes.
Lots of that. We've got relationship blogger James Sama on the show today. And he's also the host of New School Romance Podcast, which is on the podcast network we just joined, Great Love Media.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
So if you guys have visited James' blog, then you're over like 37 million people to pass over the pages of his blog. And it is one of the most widely read dating and relationship blogs on the planet. And on this site, you can hear James' thoughts and opinions and ideas about a variety of topics, obviously dealing with dating and relationships. And his ultimate mission of his blog is to bring romance and dignity back to relationships, which is where James came up with the term new school romance.
Instead of old school. Get it, guys?
It's the new romance.
Oh, sure is. He's bringing not sexy back, but dignity
Yes.
and romance.
Yes.
Which is great. And in addition to writing, guys, James has been featured on multiple media outlets, including live events, public speaking, magazine interviews, talk shows, and radio appearances. He frequently contributes to and is featured on the Huffington Post, Thought Catalog, Fox News, The Good Men Project, Your Tango, AskMen.com, CNBC, The Daily Beast, and more. I mean, he's everywhere.
All of the things. And out of all of this, in a recent move to LA from the East Coast, sprung the New School Romance Podcast, fitting. In the premiere episode, James discusses widespread frustrations with the state of dating in today's day and age, which we talk about often. Things have changed, you know. And there's also multiple topics ranging from how social media affects dating, or the importance of communication, or developing yourself into a person that you want to become before pursuing an actual relationship. So all valid things coming from his perspective.
Oh, yeah. And guys, we're going to talk to James and find out how he got his start as a relationship blogger. Like, what was the trigger that really made him want to take to the streets and talk about this stuff?
Take it to the streets.
Like we did, you know?
Word on the street.
Exactly. We're going to talk to him about whether he thinks chivalry and romance are dead and if they're ever coming back. And if so, how can we bring it back?
How can we bring it back?
And also, you know, like, how does it compare to previous generations?
Exactly.
Because it's new school versus old school.
Oh, and a lot of people talk about that. Like, well, it used to be like this, and now it's like, you know, so it's all relevant. And we're also going to ask James why he thinks men are misunderstood. Because I want to fucking know what that's all about. I also kind of don't really feel sorry for you men. If you're misunderstood, figure out how to be understood. But whatever, we're going to see what he has to say and why he thinks you can't have a fairy tale, but you can have Prince Charming. I also want to know about that, and why men should be just friends with women. James, I've done some shows with James before on his network, and he has a ladder theory. And it is quite interesting, and I want him to expand on that. So I think it has to do with this just friends thing. So we'll go touch on that a little bit more.
Sounds fascinating.
Yes.
But first, guys, we are going to fill you in on what we've been up to this last week and air our dirty laundry. Starting with
I'm airing the dirty
mine,
laundry. Yeah.
which Friday night I had a wild night of staying in and watching
Those
the
are the
Netflix
best.
show Atypical, which was so good. I
There's
watched
so
it.
many shows you watch. I don't know any of these.
No, well, I stumbled upon it, and it was a really great find. It's about a kid who has autism, and he's 18 years old, and he's super cute and funny.
Does the
and he's got
actual
a
actor
family.
have autism?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But then again, I didn't do research, so I don't know, and I can't say for sure. But he's awesome. It's like Michael Rappaport, Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh.
Super funny kid, whatever his name is. I love him. And he's got a sister. And so it's about navigating high school with this, and then also how it's a family thing, and how the parents deal with it, and their shame or not shame, and who really parented him. And now he's got to go to prom, and he also wants to have sex, and it's like a whole
He
thing.
wants to make sex.
Yeah. And it's great. So the
Can
weird
autistic
thing.
people make sex?
Yeah.
I'm totally kidding. I'm just being, funny.
Yeah. So
Although I'm sure
you should take a drink for that.
people are going to be like, you can't say that. I know that anybody can make
Right.
sex, and lots of people should not be making sex that do it.
But so he does at some point, I
He
think,
does?
maybe, or maybe
Ooh.
not. You have to watch to find out. But the great thing was, so I stayed in and I did that. I had the best time ever. Woke up in the morning, went to yoga, had lunch with girlfriends, got my nails done. While at lunch, though, look to my left, and there's Michael Rappaport. I'm like, I've been
Shut
watching you
up.
for 3 hours.
That's LA for you.
I know. It was pretty weird and kind of cool, though, because it was like, did I manifest him into my lunch?
You might have.
And now I'm like, I must practice manifesting the lottery into my life.
I mean, I would manifest $1 million into my salad.
Yeah. Well, I played the lottery last night, didn't win.
Did you really?
But I'm going to again
God.
because it's on Saturday.
Whoops.
So get out of my way, everyone. I'm manifesting that
Okay,
shit.
cool.
I even made a list of people I would give money to, what I would do with it, all this stuff.
Oh, that's nice. I hope I made the list.
Yeah, obviously.
God, that's so good.
So that happened. I also went to Malibu Wine Safari with my aunt and some friends on Sunday to celebrate her birthday, and we went to the old place for dinner. It was really actually cool because everyone at the table was like married or super successful or in a great relationship, and everyone like had something very like inspiring to say, either about parenting and being a psychiatrist, or still having like a life with their husband, but also having kids. And they had like wisdom to impart on me. And also they all wanted to set me up with somebody. So I'm like, call me.
It's kind of a good, being single later in life, like, a lot of your friends, I'm sure, and mine too, have all been married and have kids. Like the majority of them are on that path. And so sometimes it's nice to that's the benefit, I think, of waiting or just not having it happen earlier in your life, because you get all of the wisdom of the people that have already gone through it and you're still in it, so you have that advantage.
Totally. So they all want to set me up too with everybody that they know, because they're like,
great.
oh my God, you're single. I have the perfect guy for you. I'm like,
I love that.
Let's be clear. Because I am single doesn't mean you put me with your one single friend.
No.
Two single people do not
yeah.
make a match. Very distinct personalities and commonalities and interests, that might make a match.
That makes a match, but people just
Goals,
go there.
maybe.
It's nice that they're thinking it, though.
Sure.
I used to have, like, when I used to work at other jobs, like anytime someone would be like, "Oh, you're single? Oh, I have someone for you," and I was like, "Hey, listen, I'll go out with whoever you set me up with." Also, like, love that you're thinking about it, but that is true. Like, people are just like, "Oh, you're single? You're single?" I have one of my friends is gay and in a relationship with a man, and another friend didn't realize that he was with another man and said something to him. He said, "Oh yeah, my partner, my boyfriend," and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're gay? Oh, I have somebody for you if you weren't." And he's like, "Well, what is that, your only other gay friend? Like, why would you go?" No, I have a boyfriend, and just because he's gay doesn't mean I want to go on a date with him. It's just funny, but
Yeah, that
people,
happens.
they're trying.
Oh, people.
They're trying.
Speaking of trying, so I went on a date last night, and it was really fun. It was like 3 hours
From a dating app?
from the league, and it was a lot of fun. I had a great conversation with this person, and I would like to see that person again. So we'll
Great.
see what happens.
I
there.
love that.
Yeah, it was like,
That's all you should really be after the first date, I think, is just like, I am interested in seeing this person again. Anything more than that, you can have a little more than that, excitement or whatever, but within reason. Anything more than that, I think, is like, what are you? That's a little unrealistic.
yeah, I'm
Anything
not writing my name with his last name just yet.
Sure, totally. And anything less than that is indicative of, like, not being interested. So I think you seem like you're at the right spot.
Yeah, okay, so, people ask me all the time, like, oh, well, why aren't you in a relationship? Or like, at this point, you're an expert, let's say, but like, you're not in a relationship. So how are you an expert?
Like Patty Stanger.
Right. And I'm like, it's not that I'm an expert, I'm experienced. And now I figured out what works for me and doesn't work for me. I can like smell it across the room. Like, so this person displayed a lot of the qualities that I would want in someone.
Yes.
Like a lot of them. So I was like, great. I'm just happy that someone out there exists that shows qualities that I like. Because that's hard enough to find. And also, like, we'll just see. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to do. That's what the point you're at right now. And expecting anything more or feeling anything less wouldn't be good. So you're, I think, like at the good, normal, reasonable spot.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot a B. I'm hopeful. There you go.
That's also part of it too.
Yeah, and I'm getting really good at manifesting, so we'll see about that.
Well, let's hope that plays out with the lottery.
Saturday.
And that. So it's like birthday weekend for my mom, who's still in town. And so we went to Palm Springs. My aunt just moved there. We stayed at her house. It was 1,000,000 degrees. And you cannot not be in a pool or a body of water there. But it's fun to go there because we used to go there all the time when I was little. So it was like, I don't know. And I've been there since, clearly, but it just was bringing back memories. And it was fun to spend time there. My boyfriend ended up coming and hanging out. It was nice for him to be around my aunt and uncle again. He's met them before. But it's just, that is always a good thing when families start to meld together and people meet and get along and everyone's having fun. And it was relaxing, which is most important. And my boyfriend's daughter went back to school. She's in 2nd grade. That already happened. It feels like we were just there on the last day of school.
Yeah.
And now it's the first day of school. And she like had a full entourage at school with her. It was me and my mom, her mother, her grandmother, and my boyfriend, and not the dog, but and her little sister. Her mom has a daughter, a young baby. So we were like all there following her around. Like she literally had an entourage.
Imagine when she goes to college.
I know, it's going to be like all of the people.
Wow.
And you guys, Mercury is in retrograde. This is a real thing. I have been dealing with people who cannot do their jobs. Literally would go to pick up a prescription that someone called in. Your prescription's ready. And then I get there and they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, well, you called me. Or like, my bank account had something withdrawn from it from fraudulent charges. Well, that was never withdrawn. Well, yes, it was, because that's why I called you and opened a claim up. What is happening?
Mercury.
I
it's
think
real.
that also, does that affect dating and things?
It does. And we will get into that very shortly, guys. I have not actually felt the effects of Mercury right now.
I like keep feeling it, and it's really fucking annoying.
Well, I do. Okay, so if you study astrology or even read your horoscope, like I do, you know that there are certain signs that are more affected by it than others at certain points throughout the year, because it just depends, like whether something's rising or something is not. What is it, moon sign or whatever?
I don't know. Yeah,
like
that makes sense. There's more than just. It doesn't just affect everybody the same.
Right.
It depends.
Like
on,
if your horoscope, if your sign is actually like a Mercury sign, then you're not probably going to be as affected because you're already comfortable with.
You're
Mercury.
already like in it. Yeah. Ooh, I don't even know if I am or not, but I guess I'm not because it's really annoying.
Yeah. Usually it affects me heavily, but I don't know
what else
right
happened
now
to
it's
me?
not. What?
I got a note on my door from my apartment last night saying you have an unauthorized cat in your apartment. I'm like, that's fucking funny, because no, I don't. I don't know what paperwork you're reading. Again, someone's not doing their job, because my cat has been registered for the 8 years that I've lived here, and every time I put a work order in, they were coming to fix something that had broken in my apartment, and it's like the 4th time they've come. Plus 35 other times that they've fixed things throughout the 8 years I've lived there. Every single work order says, I have a cat. Please make sure the door is shut. Don't pet him because he's kind of a dick. And it's on every work order. They're just figuring this out now, that I have a cat in the apartment that's unauthorized. I'm like, again, Mercury.
It's gotta be. It's hitting you hard.
I'm like, no. Trust me, the message I left was quite nice. And by nice, I mean not nice.
I'm sure. Well, that's okay. Take care of business.
Yeah.
And then if anything, you blame your communication on Mercury and be like, I'm sorry, Mercury made me say all those things to you. Guys, so we're going to actually pick up our emotional baggage and meet our favorite celebrities in baggage claim. Bella and Black Bear.
Oh, my God.
Anyone else worried about her becoming the next Amanda Bynes?
Me!
Or Lindsay Lohan, even.
Like, what the fuck is... I honestly... When she flies off the deep end and like bad things happen, which I don't wish upon anybody. I'm just saying, are we all surprised? Are we not watching this train wreck sort of happen in front of our eyes? Or it looks like that's what's happening.
Yeah, you know what though is weird? Like she kind of embodies Katy Perry's like look on stage.
Oh, right. Except it's like normal everyday life.
Right. It's like she's like left the Electric Daisy Carnival, like and then stayed in her outfit.
Yeah.
Permanently. Like she is glitter. She looks like My Little Pony in real life. But
Yes.
she also she's now
Rainbow
dating
Bright and My Little Pony.
Yeah, so she's that. She's been dating this guy Black Bear who's like in the hip hop scene.
Brown Bear. What's that book?
Yeah, I don't know.
The children's book?
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah. So Black Bear and Bella going strong.
No.
So they're doing PDA everywhere, posting about each other on social media. You know it's serious when that happens. And so, she was linked to Scott Disick at some
That's
point.
right.
Not dating Scott. She actually claims it's because he drank too much and that she doesn't party like that.
Oh,
do you not party?
Well, please
maybe
tell
not
me,
like that.
Tell
but
me drugs is the reason that you look the way you look, because otherwise that's even more scary that you soberly chose to appear that way.
maybe somebody just takes ecstasy for breakfast every day.
I think that's
Then does their makeup.
probably what is happening, and maybe she just doesn't like alcohol. Maybe
Sure.
it's pills.
To each his own. So anyway, she also ran into an ex recently, Tyler Posey, at the Teen Choice Awards. What
Yeah.
is it? So I guess she does get along with her exes.
Yeah, it looks like they were
Which
totally
is
fine
nice.
in the picture.
And Tyler's now seeing someone else. So everyone's moved on, guys.
I guess.
It's really lovely.
Hopefully her and Black Bear are not what we think, but it looks like a recipe for disaster. It looks like she's going down a
It
scary
looks a
path.
little Amy Winehouse.
Totally.
And what was that guy's name? Jeremy? James?
don't
Jeremy?
know.
Jamie?
Valerie? Oh, no,
Maybe
that's
it's
the song.
Valerie. It's definitely- he was Valerie.
Well, speaking of exes reuniting, it feels so good, sort of. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt are not divorced. Okay, we don't really know if they're like getting back together, but they're definitely not following through with the divorce. So we're sort of at like a standstill. They've got the 6 children, and she, is trying to take full custody, and that there was this whole thing with the divorce. Well, now all of that is sort of like at a standstill. Like maybe they're trying to work it out. This is all speculation. We don't know, but allegedly this divorce has stopped the flow.
Yeah, it's not moving forward, but everyone's a little surprised considering like the public display
Yes.
of divorceness that went
And
on.
like lawyering up and all this shit.
and accusations about like abuse and alcoholism
yeah,
and drugs and
neglect.
all kinds of things that were put out in the public eye. But you know what? Things
You do weird things when you're angry, and maybe they're regretting it, and maybe they're just trying to be like normal now. Who knows? But we'll see.
we will. And you know what, guys? Maybe they should take a lesson from Stassi Schroeder, who's already gotten back together, broken up, and got back together and broken up. And let's just say it doesn't work. Don't get back
Yeah,
together at this.
It's called a breakup for a reason.
Right. And also, like, if at first you don't succeed,
Don't try again.
if it's a relationship in the public eye.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or just in general. I mean, come on.
Come on.
How do you? Yeah, I don't understand that. But Stassi has legit broken up and gotten back together with this Patrick dude for like more times than more of the years of the relationship that they actually stayed together. So to me, at what point do you just not? What do you say? Like, this is wrong. This is like, when do you open your eyes to that? And also, like, when she breaks up with him, then she's like on social media, like, I'm in Mexico on the trip that we were supposed to be on together, but now he's not here. Like, she's told, it's like nothing ever happened. It's like she's not sad. When you break up with someone and get back together that many times, it must feel like nothing after a certain point.
Well, I think, okay, so what happened was they were like celebrating their anniversary of 4 years on social media. And then the exact next day, she said she was broken up with on her anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like a Carrie Bradshaw left at the altar kind of thing. And she did plan an anniversary trip for her and Patrick. So now she has to go with a friend.
Yeah.
Just like in the movie Sex and the City, Carrie took her 3 best friends on her honeymoon trip.
Yeah.
So I think she's making light of the situation by making jokes, which she should, because essentially she's a joke. And so she's now taking it into her own hands and controlling the messaging and making fun of herself. So I actually respect that, but
Yeah.
I think she should learn from her mistakes and never get back together with
No,
him
I
again.
think you should be done.
Like
And
Taylor Swift says.
I do.
You are never, ever getting back together.
I do think that I like how she's like not feeling sorry for herself and like, okay, I'm going to go on this trip anyway. But it's also like, you also can't really be that upset. This has happened 77 times. So it's like, okay, well, now I just opened my eyes and we're broken up again. What's for dinner?
I don't know. But listen, I'm all for people. Fine, you break up, you get back together one time.
Yeah.
If you break up again,
that's it.
If you choose to get back together,
nobody feels sorry for you.
You don't tell anybody if you break up again, and you don't ask for help.
And you don't ask for help, and you don't bring other people into your stupid fucking drama.
No, because they've already given you the same advice they're going to give you again, and you didn't care the first time they gave it to you. You're wasting their time. And now you need to actually pay someone.
So fucking annoying. Yeah, now you do need to pay somebody. And Oprah will not ever have to worry about breaking up and having a divorce because she openly talks about why she never said I do to Stedman. She's like, and you don't get a wedding, and you don't get a wedding, and you don't get a wedding.
I hope I get a wedding.
I hope I do too. But she's just like, things change when you get married, and you owe different things to people, and there's different responsibilities. And I just don't like, she's just, it's sort of like the same thing everybody says, but Oprah says it, so it's like a bigger deal. And it's like Goldie and Kurt. They just don't want to, they're like, well, that's not what we want.
Right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And also she says that, like, if she were to be a wife and he were to be a husband, they would have a much different life. She wouldn't be able to do the things she's been able to do, which, by the way, I'm very curious about, because
I mean, I don't totally agree with that.
No, neither do I, because now I want to ask her, what are those things you couldn't have done? Because I feel like there are plenty of people that are married that still accomplish a lot.
Well, also, I just think you're in a committed relationship. I guess I don't think that it's any different once you get married. You still do the things you do. I don't know.
And we can talk to James about it being a new school romance. Like, can you be married and still be Oprah?
Are there more responsibilities to your commitment if you're married than if you're in a committed relationship?
Right.
I don't know if there technically are.
I
don't know either, but whatever. Everyone's like, Oprah, you're whatever you say.
I mean, they also thought she was a lesbian with Gail, and then they're like, Stedman's just a cover-up.
Maybe.
But either way, Oprah, you do you, and you go keep being Oprah.
Well, you know who did get divorced is Luann D'Agostino. Oh, wait, now she's what again? I don't even know what her last name is now.
But is she back to being the Countess? I feel like she relinquished that title.
I think maybe she did, but we are going to see what happened in reality TV world this week because we have to talk about the New York Housewife reunion. Quickly, it is on. The first episode just aired out of the 3-part series, and it wasn't as juicy as I wanted it to be.
They're like easing in slowly.
We are obviously back in time, so Luann's not even divorced yet as this is playing out.
But I don't think she's divorced now. She's just starting that process.
Right, but she in this reunion is like, I'm married to Tom, we're happy. She's in a white dress. Like, they haven't even started the process of divorce.
Right.
Timeline-wise, we are not there yet as we're watching this reunion. But we will, I think, next week get to see where they talk about Missy being invited to the parties by Ramona, and Ramona says, no, I don't invite her. And so they are seemingly alluding to the fact that Tom is inviting her, but maybe it's production. Who knows? We're going to see. We're waiting for that. Hopefully it gets a little juicier.
You know what was weird was seeing Bethany say mean things to Ramona. I thought they had made up.
I don't know, but I did like Bethany's hair extensions.
Oh, I'm into it too, and I like her dig at what's it called, Luann. She's like, I'm trying not to do Luann's hairstyle anymore.
Oh my God. And she also, though, Bethany brought this up. She did, and we'll leave it on this note, say that every single person on the couch at the reunion was in a relationship.
I'm surprised Tinsley's still with Scott.
Oh my God.
That's weird.
Remember when we just talked about your date and how you to expect too much and be in love and be signing your last name after date number 1? That is not normal, and that is what Tinsley did. Well, clearly her relationships are.
She seems a little cuckoo,
but yeah.
But I like her. I think she was a great addition to this cast.
Yeah, totally.
Also, guys, Bachelor in Paradise started. It is a hot mess of awkward.
Everyone's watching to see what Corinne and that dude do, and then
they're not on it anymore. They went off, and then it resumed because it was a 2-night episode. It was Monday and Tuesday, and you saw the first episode where they all were there getting sassy, and then it was, you could tell that there was nothing that he did more than she did. She was jumping on him. Then the second night was that the
when the incident was supposed to happen.
No, it was when they resumed taping and addressed the issues of what the cast thought about DeMario and Corinne and the whole thing. And they basically vindicated DeMario. And they're like, this cannot be a race thing that the black man attacked the white woman.
The fact that anybody even brought that up is fucking
they
stupid.
had to address it. And I think that they did a good job actually in handling the people in the cast defending DeMario and also saying guys, no one did anything out of line.
No one did anything at
all.
So they're just drunk and being stupid like every other dumb cast member.
Oh my God, but it's gonna get real juicy real fast because relationships are starting, but people are already starting to be like, I don't actually think I like you, and there's going to be a lot more people showing up, and I'm going to wait. So,
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, the grass is definitely greener in paradise, and we're going to see it all crash and burn.
All right. And hopefully these people aren't affected by Mercury being in retrograde, because we're going to touch on that very quickly.
Yeah.
You guys, it is supposed to have started August 12th. And basically there are a couple things that we have found that you are not supposed to, to watch out for.
Yeah, you can expect maybe will occur during this time period.
Yes.
Which is a long time period. It's like 5 weeks in total.
I mean, tell me it's going to end. Communication is like basically the, foundation of every successful relationship. And this is where you can expect to have some problems. Mm-hmm. So just be aware if you're trying to communicate with somebody and things are going awry, it's going to be maybe because you can blame it on Mercury.
Yeah, so maybe you guys should just all get off your apps because right now technology is...
And it's hard to communicate over apps because you don't have tone and you don't have over text or whatever.
Everything is glitchy in the world of technology and communications. So it can lead to misunderstandings, problems in comprehending one another's meanings, which is already an issue, like you said, by using text to talk. And this can lead to otherwise promising relationship. It could send it down a very bad road.
Yeah.
So you don't want that to be how you start a relationship.
No.
No.
Also, you can expect, like, what if your exes reach out? Then what happens? What do you do? Like, if that happens and Mercury is in retrograde, you're going to be probably going over your past mistakes. Like, what did I do before? How am I supposed to make this better? Like, how do I sort of find like a way to resolve that problem from before if
But
they're
do it on
coming
your
back
own.
into your life? Yeah, exactly.
Don't
do it with them.
Right. Don't be deceived. It's all a facade and it's just because of Mercury.
Yeah.
So don't take them back, but definitely be, introspective about what went wrong and all that jazz.
And guys, no verbal contracts. They also say don't sign contracts, but no verbal contracts.
Don't be like, oh, we're in a relationship, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, do not
and
put a title on it.
Because it's usually like going to go awry, or just wait until after to discuss more serious things like that. And get off your apps because technology is clearly failing everybody.
But then you can get right back on. And you know what? We've got some advice that we're going to give you today because we've got our guest, James Sama, in the studio.
Yay.
I feel like I've walked into the lioness's den.
You
did.
have.
Make sure everyone
Roar.
can see your lion facade over there and your big fluffy mane.
I think I'm. Yeah.
You're going to be the king of the jungle today.
Look at this. I got this all covered.
So you've got some water and you've got some Rekorderlig Cider, and we love this drink. And so crack it open and pour it over ice. It's a great summer drink.
It's
we're sharing it
delightful.
because the things we're talking about here are really like deep things, and we need to like have a little alcohol to help us get through the situation.
I was listening live before I came in, so I was trying to prepare myself.
Okay, good.
A little bit.
So you should be ready then.
I'm always ready.
We
that's
figured
great.
as much. So let's just dive right in then.
Yes.
How did you get into blogging in the first place?
I've always been sort of tried to be inspirational and motivational in terms of writing things down, and it used to just be Facebook statuses.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Like you would just pull the microphone a little closer to your mouth first so everyone can hear you. And then
Just better?
and then make sure, can
think
we
I'm
see?
centered.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're centered. Okay,
All right.
great. Okay.
So yeah, I used to always just write, whatever quotes I could come up with or what
Okay.
I could find and post on Facebook or whatever. This was 5 or 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
And eventually got to the point where I only had, it was the 5,000 friend limit, and I wasn't like, I'm like, I don't want to have a fan page. I thought that was weird to have fans. I wasn't really active on different networks. I'm like, I want to reach more people and write longer things than a Facebook status.
Sure.
So I was like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, I'm just going to start a blog. Went onto WordPress, free blog, and just started writing my ideas down.
Love it.
And then like 3 or 4 months after I started writing, I had an article just like 1.5 million people in a single day. read.
No
Whoa.
way.
What
I
was
was
the
like-
article about?
Yeah.
10 ways to know you're dating a true gentleman.
Oh.
How did this subject even come up for you? Like, why were you super inspired to share your insight or whatever else you've read
There's
other
so
places?
many things you could talk about.
You could talk about politics. A lot of people do
no,
that.
even within the dating and relationship
Oh, yeah.
sphere, you could talk about like but you're obviously you talk a lot about chivalry and being a gentleman, so that must have just be something that really is like near and dear to your heart.
Well, it's how I grew up. Like my parents are really old-fashioned, romantic. They've been together for decades. And
East Coast.
East Coast, old school. They're still together. They're super happy. They're more cheesy than I've ever been in a relationship.
Very rare. So that's a great.
Very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. When I started dating, I was like, this is what works. This is what's great. And then I was like, no, it's not. I was like, I would always be the best friend, or I'd always get rejected. I'm like, what the hell is the problem here? Like, I thought this was the way dating was supposed to be.
Okay.
And I also noticed at the same time that nobody was happy. I'm like, so
Okay.
maybe there's a disconnect between like how people are acting and how they maybe should be acting, for lack of a better term, right? So I just started writing down my opinions on maybe if we do things this way, people will be happier.
Do you think that has to do with the fact that people are so afraid to just say what they really want because they look vulnerable, they look desperate, or it's scary or it's a risk, so they want to be a gentleman or they want to be, in love with somebody, but they're just too afraid to do it. So it's like that resistance causes the disconnect.
Totally. I think because it prevents open and honest communication.
Yeah.
You guys were just talking about communication. And it's like there's the wall that's put up between apps, or even before apps. It's like it started with MySpace or Friendster or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
It'd be like it was creating this facade of who you were. And then you'd meet somebody in person and you're like, this is not what I got on MySpace for an image. Right? But it started there, and now it's just gotten worse and worse because that's our primary form of communication. So we're losing that ability to just sit down and connect with people.
So you think social media is like a detriment?
It killed the radio star.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good spark. Like, it's a good way to connect with people. It's a good way to meet new people, right? But it's like in a way that you can't anywhere else. I mean,
Sure.
you can talk to such a huge number of people in a short amount of time. But then what do you do from there? Like,
Yeah.
if you rely on that to continue the relationship or build the relationship, it has to grow and evolve in person.
I think that's why it's hard to be single and to completely say, well, dating apps are the worst. I think there's good and bad things about every aspect of meeting people, but yeah, dating apps are giving you the ability to connect with people quickly and more rapidly than ever. But then, yeah, I think getting off the app is the next
goal. I mean,
goal.
I will give an example as to what you're saying here. It could go both ways. Like our guest last week was like, I don't need to be on them because I'm out all the time. So I will meet people in person, and he'll go up to people and he'll just talk to people. So for me, though, I don't go out all the time. In fact, it's like my obligation to myself not to go
Right.
out. So
But you're out. It's not like you're antisocial.
no, I'm not antisocial.
You're always at wineries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I am living that wine
Where
life.
people are.
And giraffes.
Yeah.
But so for me, it's like if I want to meet somebody, I have to do something. So I could pick up a hobby or I can pick up an app. So I went out with a guy last night that lives in Mar Vista. So I would never have met that person.
Yes.
If it was not through a dating app.
See?
Right,
And he
exactly.
was great so
Yeah.
far.
But so, I mean, that to me is what it's opening our horizon and our radius and giving you opportunities to meet people you never would. Because this is not like the old timey times where you go to temple or church and you meet your community members.
Totally. Right.
And you're all in the same playing field and everyone's single at the same time. They're all getting married at the same time. And it's
Yeah.
like those same rules where it's like if you're not married by 25,
Oh, God.
you are a spinster.
So then is this where new school, so you've had this blog forever and you've talked about this term before and then it turned into a podcast, but before we get to the podcast by the same name, is this where the new school romance idea has sprung from, what Jen was just sort of touching on?
It's exactly what it is, because it's like, okay, it's a new world, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's saying to go back to like all the old traditional ways.
I
But-
kind of wish we did.
Well,
I know.
well, this is the thing, right? There are pieces of that
Sure.
must have worked.
Of course.
So we have to say like, okay, what lessons can we learn, and then how can we shift it and adapt it to the actual environment that we're living in now?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, instead of I started out with like old school love and this and that, and then I was like, well, we don't want to feel like we're going backwards, and we want to make sure it's new and updated and fresh and everything. So new school romance, like, what does it look like now?
Okay, so
You know?
what are some very cliched old school romance ideas that you now can translate to today, like opening the door first or whatever? I don't know what you
Yeah.
Simple stuff. It's like opening the door, pulling out the chair, like walking on the streets. Like every time I walk on the streets out of a sidewalk, like if whether I'm dating or not, I'll be like, oh, you go over here, because I'm on the outside, and women are always like, wow, really? And I'm like, all I did was switch sides, but it's a kind of a big deal because nobody thinks about it.
Right. So you think that those old school things can still be adapted to today?
Totally, because why not, right? It's
Right,
like,
yeah.
These are things that, it's simple manners, it's etiquette, and it's things that just require a little bit more attention to detail that people are just not even thinking about.
And then when you see them, you're like, oh, my boyfriend does all of those things and refuses not to. Like walks on the side of the street, always
Right.
opens the door, always pulls the chair out, always, always, always.
And how do you feel about it?
I am like, I like the fact that he thinks about it. I'm not like, I mean, nobody really needs that. Nobody needs a chair pulled out or a door opened or whatever. I don't need you to walk on that side of the street. I just like the fact that he thinks to do it because
Right.
it's polite. He's thinking about helping me or thinking about me. And so then his actions show that. and whatever it is.
How do you feel like gender roles play into that, though? Because a lot of people will say, well, women want all these equal rights. Why do I have to pay the bill? Or why do I have to hold the door?
Yeah.
Or why do I have to be the one that gets hit by the car first on the side of the street? Like, you know, there are those questions that come up. So how do you feel like that plays into, you know, romance and traditions and new school romance?
This is literally the number one like argument that I get with everything, because people are like, well, no, women don't want that anymore, and I'm like, see,
yeah,
look, but this is the perception.
Sure do.
Right.
And if you don't do it, I'm like,
but
who
I
the hell
also,
raised
just
you?
to interject for a second,
Sure.
I don't think that wanting those things makes you less of a woman, or that that you're admitting you're not capable, or that you can't do that, or that you're inferior or subservient. It doesn't. None of that means anything. Like, we've talked a lot about, we had like a goddess woman on the show and an energy muse, Crystal, and all of these people are like, being a woman is about accepting things that are you're a receiver, even physically. So why not, like, don't be offended by being a woman, because then you're just being a hypocrite by saying, like, well, I don't want to be called a woman or a girl, like don't throw like a girl. Well, why is that a bad thing? Just because everyone else says it is, don't be offended by it. Just say, I do throw like a girl and I like that.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
because
saying.
also I don't sit at home and practice every day because it's just not a priority for me.
But I'm saying the problem is perpetuated by women who shun it. You know what I'm saying? And don't just accept that I am this and this is what I like, and it's not a bad thing.
Well, I think there also needs to be some kind of like compartmentalizing, like who you are as a woman versus how you are in a relationship, because I think you are alone in one aspect, and then here you are part of a duo in the other. So you do, I think, fall into gender roles when you are with another gender.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know how it works like in the homosexual community, but for me, for instance, sure, I can like run a company, but also if I'm in a relationship, I would like the guy to hold the door. I would like him to maybe plan some romantic dates and take the initiative and be the man in that dynamic.
Totally.
I can also be the man and plan some things too, be the man, quote unquote. But like, you know.
Well, see, I think that's what the problem is. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily a man or woman thing. It's just what you like.
Well, I think as far as tradition goes, like, I love those things where it's like the man takes charge and the man romances
what society
you.
says is the man's job,
Sure, but for me, that is what I like. I like the romance and the tradition.
So there's the question is like, is it really just because of tradition, or is it because that's how we're biologically wired?
And
Do tell.
what do you think?
Do tell.
I think, I honestly, and this is like, I know it's controversial, but like, I think there's a lot of biological just kind of instincts there that are, you like these things, Jen, I like kind of having that male role or whatever, not because society says that's what I should do, but because that's how I naturally feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's like, by squashing that and by saying like, no, you're all the same, you're the same. No, we're not the same.
I agree.
And just to be equal doesn't mean you have to be the same. And like you said, Jen, like separating different parts of your life. You know what I mean?
And that's for anybody, even between women and men and men. All women are not the same. And just because I might want something that's quote unquote something the man should be doing or looked at as manly, I think maybe it's impossible, but sort of throw that away a little bit and just be like, no, it's just what I like. Like, you can attach it to gender, or you can just attach it to a personal thing, because we've grown up in the society where these things have been attached to a gender, and I don't really care either way. I just like what I like, and I don't like what I don't like.
I like when the man pays on the first date.
I think that's absolute requirement.
Yeah, because it's
100% of the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And why do you think that's an absolute requirement?
I mean, it's how, I can't say it's like a gender thing for that. It's just it's how I was raised. Because it's like, well, first of all, nobody thinks about all the effort and money and time that goes into a woman being ready for a date too. Guys are like,
That's
okay,
true.
you know, it's like whether you get your hair done or your nails done or whatever to look good for this date, that's expensive.
Yeah,
And
good call.
You know, and like guys are always like, you see the final product, right? And they appreciate you, but they don't stop and think, oh, I wonder like how long it took her to look like this.
Yeah.
Or to get that, to be comfortable enough to come out or get ready, or did she buy something new or whatever. Nobody thinks about like the pieces that go into it. So it's like, not that it should be a tit for tat thing, but I mean, it's, a guy shows up, takes her out and being like, listen, I value your time. I want you to know that I appreciate you being here. So, and
this is what I contribute.
This is what I contribute. And it's from a courtship standpoint too. Like, you've got to, I mean, the fact of the matter is that women have the power, for lack of a better term. Like, we don't tell you on a date, we ask you on a date, right? Like, it's up to you if you come with us.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
What I mean? Well,
I
it's
feel very powerful right now. Thank you.
well, why not? And guys, this is why guys don't like me.
But
because
you
they're
have
like,
but you have power too because you're initiating that.
Right, you're
question.
asking.
Right.
We can't make you ask. I mean, we could try.
You could be if women have like
Subtly.
they have to be approachable. And
Yeah.
everything, sure.
Sure.
But guys still have to make the move, and then
Yeah.
plan the date, like you said, Jen. Like plan out the date, pick you up
Yeah.
potentially again, and I think that it's just, but it's also that like male kind of, I don't want to say leadership because that implies somebody's following, but it's just sort of like take control and pursue the woman.
Yeah.
And that's how we do it these days.
Yeah.
As opposed to like club on the head and drag to the cave.
Exactly, which is why you think that's still ingrained because that in the start of man.
You're talking about millions and millions of years of like biological evolution that our genders did things a certain way.
Yeah.
And up until our parents' generation, our grandparents, like 50 or 60 years ago, it's not like human beings are different than they were then.
Well, even in the animal kingdom, it's like
Yeah.
the lioness goes out and hunts.
Right.
And the male lion's the head of the pride, and everyone follows him. But I guess there's roles there. Do they fucking call those gender roles?
Right, exactly.
Like that
Nobody
lion's
stops
like,
and says
I'm
that.
not going to get you food tonight.
You're gonna starve.
They just do it because that's what they do. How did that happen? It's just like
It's natural
biology.
exactly. It's not any different, really.
Well, so then how do you feel about Bumble? Because that has sort of flipped things on its head.
There's a lot of women that are on, but like I think it's a good thing for women in the sense that you have control now, and you're not going to get some random dick pic from a guy.
Yeah.
Because he just can't send it unless you initiate the conversation, right?
Right.
So it's like it's that kind of protection, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
But then women are like, oh, I really don't want to make the first move.
Right. I got off of it. For a while, I liked it because I liked just knowing there was an assigned responsibility. It happens all the time where you match with somebody and it's more just like an ego boost because you got the match.
Right.
And that's the gamified effect. But I like that someone has to write someone else, and in order to talk, who's going to do it.
Exactly.
So it could
you
have
have
been
control over that part
right.
of it.
I mean, Bumble could have been the guy has to write the girl, and I would have been fine with that because I like that better. Because then I know that he actually does want to talk to me.
well, there's rules and you have to do it, and so this has
Right.
to happen, and there's no question up in the air.
right.
But
But I
there are
don't
other
like
apps like
writing
that, too.
first. I'm like, I can't.
You know
do
what
it.
I would do
don't
when I
wanna
was
do
on it? It didn't, and a lot of girls say that. I didn't give two shits. I was like, I don't fucking care. What's the like? I would just send an emoji
Right.
just to start the conversation,
Yeah.
like a wave, and
Then
then
what would you get as a response?
and then they would be like, they would start the conversation every time. Hi, how are you? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, so that's like if I'm at a bar and I go, or I
Right.
smile at you, and then you start talking to me.
It's the
Or
same
like Brian
principle,
Howie likes
Yeah,
to say, you should stick your tongue out.
I just didn't. I'm like, I'm on an app. I don't give a fuck. Even if I say hi, you're cute. Like
Yeah.
that's at some point, I'm like, I just don't care. But I had also been single for a really long time, and I just didn't care. I was like, it doesn't put me off. Like I'm not weirded out by that. But like, I can understand why people would. And there's guys that don't like it. They're like, I want to say it first, or I don't want you to. Yeah, it's like
because of the whole kind of the dynamic that we're so used to.
So
and
used
if
to,
it's-
yeah.
And if we go too far in the opposite direction, like it's gonna make everybody so confused, and they're already confused.
Yeah,
They're so
And then you think
confused.
that's
Yeah.
a problem. That's part of like the problem as to why like things are just awry.
And see, and I heard you say before I came in here, like the whole misunderstood men thing. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for you, but when you
Yeah,
think
tell
about
us
it,
about that. Why do you think men are
Yeah.
misunderstood?
this is because it's part of this conversation here. It's like, okay, what do we do? Right? It's like you have a CEO female, you have somebody who's like, doing all these different powerful things, and then the guy goes, well, should I open the door? Like, should I pull out the chair? Like all these things.
I
that
gonna
are
offend
ingrained in
her?
us.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So it's like, and I think, and nobody's having these conversations because, like you said, Lauren, like guys aren't willing to be vulnerable or open up about it, which I think.
I wish they would because
Yeah.
what I keep finding, and I'm sure that this is part of it, and it explains now why when I say all of the men are now like hyper emotional and insecure because of these dating apps and all of these things that are changing, and it's driving me bananas.
Yeah.
Like, no, go back to less
It's
insecurity.
shifting things too much.
It is, and it's too fast, and they're not getting the emotional support they need.
Although I will say women do it too, typically, and it just manifests itself different. Women don't get vulnerable because they're supposed to play hard to get, or they're supposed to look like they're busy, or they're supposed to look like they don't care, or that they're not desperate, or they don't want to be in a relationship with you, or they don't want to get married. So you take 3 hours to text someone back, or you don't. You act like you're busy, and you're like looking at your phone, and they text you, and then you put the phone down, and you like count the clock ticking away. To me, I'm like, that's the same thing, but it's.
But that's been accepted for years,
Well,
whereas
so is-
now men being super insecure. I mean, there has been a time where a guy wrote me, I didn't write back because I was driving my automobile, which I'm pretty sure is frowned upon to send a text back.
Vehicle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I look at my phone once I'm parked and I get a berating message that says, okay, well, I guess you're not interested. I'm like, not now.
I've seen some like
no
horror
longer
stories with that. I've seen some really rough.
Yeah, people get
screenshots of men
impatient,
who are
yeah.
like, it's bad. It's bad.
But I'm saying like men get misunderstood because they don't, do I do this? I don't really know. I don't want to be vulnerable, and women do the same thing.
So is that where you come in?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to kind of be the conduit to say, yes, women do want all of this.
Yeah.
Women do want it, and like have to stand up and actually do it. That's the thing.
But don't you think the bigger thing is, what do you want? Like, if I'm out and I want to open the door for somebody because that's where I came from and that was my environment and I feel comfortable doing that and I think it's like a way to show that you're thinking about somebody,
Right, yeah.
well, then do it. And if you don't think the other person wants it or does, well, who fucking cares? Then you're not a match. Like,
But that's the problem, is that people are making these assumptions before they even get out there.
Exactly.
And guys have been, I mean, I've seen, or I've heard stories about guys who are just getting like berated for being nice, like offended
Yeah.
by chivalrous acts or whatever you want to call it. So a lot of guys, and as it is, it's
Yeah.
hard enough for men to approach women or ask women out or
True.
whatever. It's not just like, oh, come say hi. Guys are like, okay, my entire ego is on the line here.
that's true.
Right? But
And that's
nobody-
fair.
And
right.
yeah, so eventually, a lot of guys. Again, I'm not saying it's right. This is why we have to build confidence in everybody. But like a lot of guys will just be like, "Well, fuck, I'm not doing that again."
Yeah.
Like they
give up.
beaten down so many times.
Sure,
they're like,
which is understandable.
Well, and
Right.
also they know they can go right back to the apps. They don't have to talk to people in person. And also people look much less approachable because people are now going out for like a purpose versus to meet people.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I'll go out to dinner with friends because I want to spend time with my friends.
Right,
But
right, yeah.
a gaggle of women do not look approachable.
No.
Because you also don't know who's single in that, who's married, who whatever.
Yeah.
You just don't know. So like actually trying to talk to someone is taking a major, major chance.
Oh, it's yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like people just don't take
And
chances anymore.
everyone has to think about what goes into the process before, like you said, think about what time and money it took for this woman to look this way. Think about what it took for the guy to even start the process. If that's what
Right.
you want to be, if you want someone to approach you, you need to pay attention to what efforts were placed for that.
And there are so many women that have just been like, they're so rude when somebody goes up to them or approaches them. Men are like, it's like they don't want to experience that.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard to kind of smile and be like, hey man, like I'm like, thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
But like most women are.
That
just
would
like,
be nice.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But this is part of the problem. I mean, Lauren, I mean, I told you this story before, a really short version of it. I was out in Boston with a few friends, and there were a group of women that they overheard what I do from the bartender or whatever. And they started talking to me, and one of the women was like, nobody ever approaches me. But she was sitting there in the middle of her group, like face forward at the bar, looked like a drill sergeant. You know?
Oh.
And I was like, can I tell you something? I was like, you don't really look like you want to be approached.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I don't mean to be that way.
Right.
So the point is being mindful enough to know how
Sure.
you're presenting yourself.
Self-reflect, yeah.
Right. Like if you do want to be, like she was saying, she does want to be approached.
Sure.
Not a single thing about your presentation here told me that.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So everybody has to kind of open up and be more willing.
Yeah,
to
you can't be so in your head that you don't even realize like your outward appearance is not matching what you. If you're a guy and you want to open a door for somebody because that's how you are, then do it. Otherwise, if you don't do it, then you're acting like you don't care. And what if the
Right.
girl it's
Right.
like you can't.
Well, it's weird because of social norms and
Yeah.
cues and things like that. And I do think a lot, like what you were saying, old school romance, like your parents' generation, like what made things easy was knowing what people did, and it was very universal. So
That's
like
true.
opening the door, pinning someone,
just
courting
did it.
someone, going to prom.
Right.
You know,
Pinning
you
someone.
don't kiss on the first date, and then now you do, but you don't know. Like it's just a weird clusterfuck of not knowing right now.
Although I'm sure there were things from the generation before the kids in the 50s that were different, and they were trying to figure out how to make those things make sense too. But I do think that just in comparison to what we're talking about now, that it was just more
Structured.
structured, and like, and you knew what your roles were. And
Yeah.
I was watching Hacksaw Ridge last night with a friend of mine.
Oh.
It was an amazing movie.
Okay.
But like, there's this really kind of, it's World War II era.
Yeah.
Right? So like, there's a scene where Andrew Garfield meets, a woman, a girl at the time or whatever, and she was so just kind of like, oh my God, he called me pretty, and like there was this innocence to the interaction, that used to happen. And now it's like women would be like, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
like
if that's saying-
offended by the
Yeah.
compliment or the effort.
Yeah, or like, what are you looking at? Or there's so just
I wonder why
overrun.
why
Because well, first of all, it's like social. You probably get it every day. You get bombarded with these like ridiculous comments on social media. I mean, I look on Instagram or Facebook at these beautiful women, and like the comments, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so you're just so kind of like get
on
that away
edge
from
about
me.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, constantly.
You
We're
know-
like jaded almost. We're like, oh,
yeah.
You know what it was
Yeah, like
sometimes
again,
like
yeah.
I found when I was single and going out a lot, I could say for the majority of the time I'm not like a rude person unless you cross me or you're like an annoying doorman and then I'm like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. And then I like lose my grace. But when men would come up to I would think about that. I'm at a bar, I need to like turn outward and smile and like would want men to approach, and it didn't happen all that often. But I do remember feeling like sometimes it would, and you would be trying to give the social cue of like, I'm not interested, but you're not being me. But then you would have to get to the point where you're like, dude,
Yeah.
back the fuck up.
Yeah.
So what's a polite way, like you
Yeah.
said, that we could, okay, if they're just not getting it the first, the second time.
Because you're trying to be nice or
Yeah.
whatever.
What is a great like catchphrase to say to someone?
I would always bring up like I would make a comment about, oh, my boyfriend loves that. Or
Oh,
like,
just say it.
Like,
Just
sure,
say it,
because
yeah.
especially when you have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has to just be, or even if you don't have to, it's like to
Yeah.
work that into the conversation.
Yeah.
Any guy who, and this is why we have to work at it from both sides, because we have to talk to guys about how to like pick up on these cues too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be your responsibility.
No.
To build that wall. I mean, if
Right.
you have to, you have to. But
Right.
like, we shouldn't have to worry about that in 2017.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
should be like socially smart enough, but they're just not.
But they're not because they're so stuck in their damn phones
And
all the
they're-
time.
and
They
they-
forgot
yeah.
how to talk to people.
And they're not learning. We're not learning about how to do this, right? How
Yeah.
like dating
Right.
and stuff. And nobody thinks that we have to. It's
That's
like
interesting.
well, think about it. Like if you want to get a job or get a new skill or whatever, you figure out, okay, what are the requirements? What do I have to do to get what I want? If you want to start like a gym routine, what are my goals? What are my requirements to get what I want? If you want to get into a relationship, just be yourself. It'll happen.
Good call.
Well, but yourself
come
is
on.
confused, so you should actually just read a book or
But
something.
this, well, or a couple.
Right.
This is what I mean.
Or
like,
listen
there's
to your
no
podcast.
education about it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
We don't go there with relationships.
I mean, yes, obviously be yourself, but you need to think a little. It's not just that fly by the seat of your pants.
No.
There's
you need
things,
to be proactive and get out there and like do stuff and be
Right.
around people.
and pay attention to yourself or social cues or what you want or what you expect or any of those
and
things.
communicate.
Yeah.
Communication. People are so afraid to do it because of being vulnerable.
That's, I think, the main reason why people don't communicate.
Right.
Yeah, especially men, because
Yeah.
it's like because there's this stigma of having to be just
Like
a guy.
emotionless
Right.
or whatever.
You know?
What is okay? Why do you think then? If we're going back to like men and fairy tales and all that. So what is this theory about? You can't have the fairy tale, but you can have Prince Charming. What does that mean?
The concept behind it is like the fairy tale being the entire atmosphere of life, right, of the world. Like nothing's perfect. You're gonna have challenges or failures, or somebody's gonna get sick, or something's gonna happen that's negative, right?
So no flying, singing animals.
well, it depends on how many drugs you've taken.
Okay, cool.
Okay, depends on if you're Bella Thorne.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that.
right. Yeah. She might actually be a flying singing animal.
Shit.
Yeah, she might.
My Little
Yeah.
Pony.
Yeah.
But like so, life is gonna come at you in all these different ways. So like, there's no perfect.
That
world
fairy
to
tale
live.
is just
Right.
not realistic. Yeah.
Right.
And it might not happen also the way you like. You're not
never
gonna
does.
Yeah.
like
Never
touch a bush and then fall asleep or
Right.
something, and
That's
someone
nice, that
comes.
would be, yeah.
I would like that though.
Oh, it was pricking her finger or eating the apple, but it's okay.
I combined it.
Touching a bush.
I'm gonna touch a
Just
flower.
something of falling asleep and touching things.
Yeah. Someone saves you like a damsel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But Prince Charming,
Can
Yeah.
be the guy who stays by your side
Okay.
and supports you through all of these tumultuous experiences.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
so don't expect the situation and the environment to be perfect, but the guy can be a standby guy.
Totally.
And that's the
Yeah.
Prince Charming.
That's the Prince Charming.
That makes
Because-
sense.
Yeah.
I'm into
Okay.
it.
I like that.
I like it too.
I'm-
Well, I think we have to make that distinction.
Yeah,
Right.
because then
Like,
there is a difference. Like you can let things just because you cross a bump in a relationship doesn't mean that fuck that.
Right,
It's
right.
the cliched saying too of like it's not about if you fall. That happens to everybody. It's how you pick yourself up, and that's what the Prince Charming is, the guy that picks you up, or even in friendships or work relationships.
Yeah.
It's those are the people that you stick by with the most, the ones that stand by your side and support you
Totally.
no matter what bumps happen.
Speaking of friendships, so why do
Yeah.
you think that guys should just be friends with girls?
Yeah. And is this your ladder theory?
Well, it's based off of
Okay.
that. Like the ladder theory is, and again, I can't take credit for the ladder theory. I did find it like 10 years ago, but I didn't write it.
But you talk about it and
Yeah.
you have your own
Share
thoughts.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a very short version of the ladder theory is that women have two different ladders, essentially, like visual ladders that they place men on. It's like men are just friends; they have no physical interest in them whatsoever. But they'll But you'll either hang out with them, or you'll just go to movies or whatever as friends. Mm-hmm. And then the other ladder is guys who maybe there's something there with, and then you're on this hierarchy. Men don't have that separation. they say like, if you see an attractive woman, they're like, there's never like, I just want to be friends with her, or whatever. There's always maybe something else there.
You only have one ladder and we have two.
Right. But what I'm saying about should be friends is men have to kind of like overcome that like basic instinct and be able to say, okay, there's value in surrounding yourself socially with women that you don't have to act on every single like instinct or urge that you have. You know what I mean? Like you can actually say, okay, yes, I'm attracted to this person, but like at the same time, I can appreciate the value she brings to my life, the different viewpoints, the different things that she'll be able to teach me about just the world and the way she sees things that I don't see them that way just because I don't have the same life experiences. And I think too many guys, like if a woman wants to be just friends, they're like, oh, I can't even be around her. I'm going to be like always thinking about it, blah, blah, blah. And then they cut it off. And then they end up in these groups of men who are like grunting and bumping chests and drinking their beer all the time. Bromance, which is fine, but there's no balance.
Exactly.
And
You
then there's
can't
no
have just one.
Right.
Well, and
need
you
that
don't learn
both
from like
energies.
terms. You learn from something that's different.
Right.
Right. And this it all goes back to the communication problem because they don't know how to communicate with women. They don't know how to just be around women in a social atmosphere where they're not just trying to get in their pants. It's all or nothing for these guys.
Exactly.
So friends can actually like be a way to practice. Like your communication.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should go into it as like trying to use her as like a sounding board, but yeah.
Or just realize that you have the capacity to gain value from a woman that's not just physical or sexual, even if you do feel that way. Because you've often said there is never, ever, ever, ever a time, and you say, you're just saying this, but this is your opinion and you're probably not wrong. Lots of people would agree that a man doesn't want to have sex with the girl, but the girl will for sure not want to have sex with the guy all the time. Like the percentage is vastly different.
Oh yeah, because it's always there for the man.
Yeah.
And again, even if I'm saying like, yes, you should just be friends with them, like
it's
if
still
the
there.
opportunity arises, he might be like, but
always you're saying like, always.
as long as there's attraction there and like you're both available and
Yeah.
But the thing with it is like sometimes that can be a good thing if it flourishes off of a friendship.
Sure.
Right? Because then you've known this person in a different atmosphere, in a different context or whatever, so it's not like you're just jumping into it from a first date standpoint, like an interview, face-to-face thing, going, I hope this works out.
Right.
It's like, no, you've spent time around this person as a friend. You've built a foundation. You've done things that are platonic. So you know that a relationship is just that, plus.
Or that could be also said as to moving into a relationship slowly instead of like jumping in, even if you don't start out as friends. Or whatever, but I mean, I've dated guys that I was like really good friends with first, and I'm now still, after time and space, friends with them again. But it's both, I mean, it definitely does create a great foundation.
Now, I have a question about this because I see now, in the past, you see a group of girls that go out, and it's the same sex, and they're all out looking for men. So a group of men can come over and talk to a group of women, and everybody finds somebody in the end. But now you do find a lot of women and men that are friends, so they'll go out as a group. I find that when I'm out with my guy friends, which is all the time, that I do not get approached because other guys have no idea if one of those guys is my boyfriend.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
And they don't want to like bro it up with my guy friends because that's an annoying thing to have to do.
Yeah.
So they just don't come over and talk to me.
And you think that's what it is. Like they're just like, they don't approach her because she,
Totally.
I used to go out with my friend Conroe all the time. We would, best friends, we would go out and go to this bar and dance all night. Not sometimes with each other or sometimes whatever. And then all of a sudden we realize one night, we go, people think we're together.
Totally. Of course, yeah. Fuck. Totally.
So then what can you do if you are going out with those friends
because we
that
have
opens
guy
you up?
friends. Yeah.
Because
we
like
do.
I don't want to not hang out with my friends who are my friends. So what could I do when I'm out with them that still makes me presentable and approachable in the whole thing?
Yeah.
I honestly think it's the same principles as if you were out with a group of female friends, because either way, you've got a guy who has to like literally kind of invade this circle, right? So like Brian Howie says, with sticking your tongue out, or even eye contact and smiling. Like if you catch a guy's attention from across the room and you're with a group of guys or a mixed group, he might start to be like, are they like brothers? Are they the gay friends?
See, that's a good point. That is a good point.
They're the gay friends.
But
that's what I'll just start saying.
That is a good point. Being available or looking available and approachable is something that you really can see.
Totally.
So I would, of course, just don't touch, don't lean close to the guys you're with, create some space. And then, if you're looking for a dude, make eye contact with the dude and like smile or something. They're for sure going to be like, that's definitely not her fucking husband.
Exactly.
Right. Unless it's that type of thing.
And also,
and then
hey, exactly.
There are no rings on these fingers.
Also, but guys don't know that. I would wear this big, huge ring that my mom gave me. It literally, the stone is that big. It's like weighs my finger down. on this hand.
Yeah.
And people would be like, is that a ring? I'm like, no, it's not. People don't even pay attention. They
You're
just
not
see
Kim Kardashian
No,
either.
but they
No one
see
has
a ring.
ring.
They see a ring and a lot of guys I don't think realize if it's left or right or even know that, but it confuses them for sure.
Just they're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like stranger danger. Gotta
No,
go.
I see things on fingers and I'm done. I'm scared. Okay, so now your blog, it talks about obviously all the things that your podcast talks about, but specifically you decided to call the podcast New School Romance because it's just obviously such a theory that you just keep touching on. And it's like you can talk about everything with that. So remind
And people need help.
Yes, people do need help. Remind everyone where they can hear this and find this and some things you touch on.
Yeah, so all of the episodes of the podcast are at newschoolromance.com.
Yeah.
It takes you right to like the iTunes page. There's a bunch of amazing reviews on there. People seem to really be enjoying it.
Yeah.
And it's every week a new episode comes out. So you can subscribe right there, listen right there. And then all of my other stuff it started out just as my name because I didn't have a brand because I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's just at James M. Sama. JamesMSama.com is all the articles, at James M. Sama, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole deal.
But everyone knows that's what it's attached to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, and I have that on my bios and everything with
Yeah.
New School Romance.
And then also, very quick question: what is your relationship status?
Yeah.
I've recently started spending a little bit of time with somebody. It's just kind of very beginning stages, but
Okay.
more organic, kind of like, you're in situations with somebody and you click and it evolves, you know what I mean?
So not through an app.
No,
Okay.
not through an app.
I
Would
love
you
that.
be on the apps though?
Would I be? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
But it's like, I honestly haven't really had a lot of success with it.
Yeah, it's a lot. Not a lot of people do, and I feel like it's very black and white. Like I know people that have gotten married, and then people are just like, "It's not working."
Yeah,
I think it's a nice
yeah.
option to not totally ignore, but I feel like there's certain types of people who it works for, and certain people
Yeah.
who do, and those people maybe don't want you to open the door, or those people maybe want you to, I don't know, spank them or something in bed. I'm just saying, it's all about what you
Communication
want,
to figure it out.
people.
Communication.
Just do what you want.
Do what you want in a nice way to other people.
In a nice way to other people. And you, obviously, they can go to your jamesmsama.com and get all of this information, all this advice in the blog and from the podcast. But we want some quick advice from you really quick. We're going to play a very fast game called I Want Some of That. Jen.
So we're going to give you some situations or scenarios, and you're going to give us a quick advice tip or trick for that specific scenario.
Like just
Like the-
situations that arise in relationships.
Like
or
the
whatever.
fastest little quip ever. Maybe it's a quote you've
Yeah,
said
just a-
before, what else? All right, first one goes. Dealing with a breakup within a group of friends.
Oh, you mean like you're friends with everybody and then you
Yeah,
guys
like
break
the
up?
friend. Yeah, exactly. And then a couple breaks up, and then you're like, what the fuck?
Who do we pick? The whole thing.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. You had to throw that at me in the beginning?
Sorry.
Well, everyone happens
Drink
to
your drink
everyone.
and think about it.
We can come back to it.
Fine.
Can we? Can I take a mulligan on that one?
Yeah,
That's
you
a tough
can.
one.
You
That's
can.
a tough one.
Okay, discovering your partner cheated.
It's over.
Okay.
It's over.
Agreed.
No
Great.
second chances with that.
Into that. How to bring up the what are we topic.
Well, first of all, it has to be brought up. I think it has to be an organic conversation about like dropping hints about certain things, or like when we do this, talking about things in the future. And then if you can get the idea that somebody is actually committed to planning something in the future with you, be like, so is this is actually a relationship then?
Okay.
I think it has to be casual and light and fun or whatever.
So
and,
pay attention to cues in your
common
communication.
theme with
Yeah.
everything,
Getting a straight answer when asking someone how many people they've done sex with.
Oof. I think it's a matter of being like, listen, this is really important to me. And like, it's a serious conversation. It's a serious topic. So it has to be like approached in a serious way.
Okay.
Like, listen, like I really want to make sure that I can trust you if we're going to reach this level of our relationship. And I need to know that you're going to tell me the truth about this.
And how about if somebody doesn't want to tell the truth about it?
Or
You
they
have-
just don't want to tell a number.
Right.
I mean, you have to ask why and be like, at that point, you'd have to, if you really
I'm
can't
asking
crack
because
it-
I want to know, so I'm going to be okay with what you tell me.
Right.
But I guess.
Or like, is there anything I should be concerned about?
Okay.
At least give me like, is there anything I should be worried about?
Okay.
All right. What about discussing moving in together?
The amount of time or how to actually like approach it?
How to
Both,
approach it.
maybe.
Yeah, I guess. How to approach it.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
well, listen, like we spent like we're pretty much sharing space anyway. Like your stuff is at my place, my stuff is at your place. Like why don't if we could be a lot more efficient about this and see each other more often? Why don't we just share one apartment, share one place?
I like it.
You know?
I'm
Same.
into it. Okay. What about broaching the do you want to have anal question?
It's not my style, so I have no direct experience with that.
But what if
Like,
someone wants?
let's-
Okay, fine.
like,
What if a girl
I would
was
be
like, I really like it, so could you just do it?
Well, okay, in that case, men typically want to make the woman happy. So if you bring it up in a way that, like, listen, this is what I enjoy, this is what I like.
And it doesn't have to just be that. It could be anything sexual.
Anything, yeah, because guys do want to make women happy in that arena or in any arena. They just need to be told how. So
Okay. Well, sometimes it's anal.
Well, in that case, he should, do what you got to do.
Okay.
How do you drop hints about popping the question, like that you want to be?
Without sounding like a girl, and like, when do you say that and not feel like, well, I'm telling you to ask me to marry you?
Well, that's gonna be situational with the
I
relationship.
guess.
Like, how long have you been together? What are the set of circumstances? Do your families all spend time together? You know what I mean? I think that having conversations based off of the future, again, is really important, because if you talk about, like, someday, whether you talk about kids' names or whatever, like, you get to the point where it's like an inevitability.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think it's just a matter of kind of guiding that conversation to that point.
Yeah, and paying attention to things that people say that may open the door to that. That all makes sense.
And this is on guys too, picking up on those cues.
Okay. Let's do one more. Jen, you can pick it. Which one do you think?
Dealing with an annoying ex.
Block everything. Block everything. I mean, it's like women tell me all the time, or men tell me all the time, oh, he keeps leaving these comments. Then fucking block him. Like, there shouldn't be any communication, I don't think, whatsoever.
Oh,
and that's
interesting.
Easy. You can certainly disagree.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
Especially because we categorize this person as annoying versus just a nice ex that's, like, lingering,
Totally.
Or checking in to see how you're doing.
Anyway.
It's not like that, so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no.
Nice try. Okay, that is great advice. And your advice, you guys, if you want more of his advice, check out the blog and the podcast, because this is just like an ongoing conversation of all of the things that there's 5 million other things we could bring up, but
Totally, it never ends.
it never ends.
That's the great thing about it.
Right.
always
We're sort
complicated.
of writing the book right now on what this new school romance looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully everyone gets it together sooner than later, because I'm single and I want it to work out.
Exactly. Manifest that shit.
I am. And also my lottery winnings.
And the lottery
That
winnings.
would be nice too.
Yeah.
let me know you
Okay.
see that, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in.
you both.
Everyone, you can find him at James M. Sama on all of the things. And don't forget to tune in next week for our favorite repeat fairy podfather guest, Brian Howie.
He
boy,
will be
Brian
in the
Howie.
studio.
Oh, Brian Howie. We all know him and love him so much. Great love
We
to
sure
date.
do.
Yes.
And where can people find you, Lauren?
You can find me at Lauren Leonelli on all of the socials.
Great. And you can find me at Jennifer Golden on all the socials as well.
That's right. And don't forget to follow James on all the things too, because he has great fun quotes on Instagram, like all the live long day. They're the best. I agree with
And
all of them.
videos. A lot of those videos are great, to the point. You learn it.
I high five him.
Double tap.
I double tap every single post.
Same.
I screenshot every post and then think about sending it to my boyfriend, and then some of them I don't, because I'm like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't. But I'm like, they're all so good.
Yeah.
So
you
thanks
make a lot of
again,
sense.
you guys. We will see you next week with Brian Howie in the studio. Alrighty.
Love you long time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.